Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Today in this video, we would like to present the material about successful public speaking. Before we start, let me introduce our members. There are myself, Prisca, Apriana, Harahap, Deti Permatasari, and Maesaro. Today, we will explain 6 tables of contents about successful public speaking. First of all, we will share the introduction about public speaking. After that, we will explain the evolution of public speaking. Then, we will show the overcoming fear of public speaking. In the next section, we will explain about the component of public speaking, and we would like to share the 3 P's successful speech. Finally, we will share the benefits of public speaking. So, this is the quote of the day. Nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively, by Gerald R. Ford. So let's move on to the next slide about the introduction about public speaking. Becoming an effective public speaker doesn't have to turn into one of the necessary yet unpleasant goals on our professional advancement list. The art of public speaking holds many practical benefits that go far beyond delivering a project presentation or holding a successful meeting. Improving our ability to speak in front of others and learning to talk about who we are and what we do with natural grace and authenticity can go a long way in expanding our social circle, building strong relationships with successful, like-minded people, and making new friends. To the next slide. In this slide, I will explain the evolution of public speaking. The arts of speaking in public is not new. Its long tradition can be traced back to classical Greece, approximately 490 to 322 before centuries. The first rules of a public speech were elaborated on over 2,000 years ago by the Greek philosopher and teacher of Alexander the Great, Aristotle. We know them as the 3 basic parts of persuasion: ethos, logos, and pathos. First, in order to be asked to share their thoughts, observations, and ideas publicly, a speaker should possess a certain level of authority and knowledge about the chosen topic. It is called ethos. Second, to make sure that message is received and understood correctly by the audience, it has to be conveyed in a clear, informative, and logical manner. It is called logos. And the last, to capture and hold the audience attention, the speaker must first establish an emotional connection with the listeners. It called pathos. After the ancients of Rome, public speaking techniques developed in Greece were copied and modified by the Romans. Around 50 before centuries, Cicero wrote his treatise called the Orator, where he explained his 5 canons of rhetoric that are widely used by many public speakers up to this day. First, invention. Develop and refinement of the argument or finding ways to pursue. Second, arrangement. Creation of the structure of a coherent argument. Third, style. The process of determining how to present an argument using rhetorical techniques and choosing the words that have the greatest impact on the audience. Fourth, the process of learning and memorizing the speech while making it sound natural. Fifth, delivery, the process of making effective use of voice and body language. In the modern era, public speaking is still used until now. Public speaking has evolved from a skill reserved by a selected few to one of the most powerful marketing, educational, and brand promotion tools in any business. Many tips, techniques, and rules have been elaborated on to find the best way to influence, motivate, entertain, and pursue people. So, we can know that public speaking is a process, an act, and an art of making a speech before an audience. After knowing the history of public speaking, I will tell you about three styles of speech. There are impromptu, manuscript, and extemporaneous. Impromptu speech is prompted by the occasions rather than being planned in advance. Some examples of impromptu speech could be our boss asking us to bring the rest of our team up to date, or a group of friends urging us to say a few words at a non-profit event. A manuscript is meant to be delivered word for word. Manuscript speeches are used on many political and social occasions when every word carries a lot of weight and should not be misquoted. Extemporaneous speech is the most commonly used type of speech that helps to establish emotional connection with the audience. It is built around key points, but the material can be presented freely, allowing the speaker to make change in their speech based on the listener's reaction.
The next is how to overcoming fear of public speaking. First, deep breathing. Our breathing rate is directly connected to our emotional reaction. The fastest and easiest way to take our emotions under control and regain our confidence is through deep breathing. The second, shifting focus outwards. We may perform worse than we could because we focus too much on our physical symptoms, such as shaky hands and sweaty palms. These problems could be easily avoided by shifting focus from how we look the message we want to share. The third, visualizing. Visualization helps us to improve performance in such areas such as communication, public speaking, and education. The next, focusing on facts, not fears. Concentrate our thought on positive facts, such as I have practiced my speech many times. I am an expert on this topic. The next, building our speech on clarity, not complexity. Organizing the speech around 2 or 3 main points allow us to relax and not worry about running out of time or forgetting to mention something important. Okay, let's move to the next topic. It's about components of a successful speech. First, storytelling. We can insert our interesting story in our speech. A well-told story has an almost hypnotic effect on the listeners. They will never forget the story that we told them. The second, tone of voice. John Way said, talk slow, talk low, and don't talk too much. Our voice becomes a powerful instrument that allows us to engage, charm, and encourage our audience to listen. Audiences are more influenced by the sound and quality of our voice than its content. We have to learn how to control our tone of voice and use it to make our speech more expressive and hypnotizing. The next, pause. An expert said, the right word may be effective, but no word was ever as effective as rightly timed pause. Public speaking is not just about talking in public, it is about listening to our audience and letting the silence talk for us. And the last is visual aids. Visual aids add impact and clarity, also make our presentation more persuasive and easier to remember by the audience while allowing us to prove, reinforce, and engage our ideas. Okay, that's all from me.
Okay, in this slide, the 3 P's of a successful speech. The positive outcome of a speech does not depend solely on the oratory skills of the speaker. It is influenced by many factors such as the topic of the presentation, the attitude of the audience, the quality of the material, the length of the speech, and so on. Some of the factors are out of the speaker's control. However, the remaining success will depend on how well the presenter follows the 3 P's. The first, preparation, practice, and performance. Preparation. Only the prepared speakers deserve to be confident, Dale Carnegie. What Dale Carnegie means to us, what I conclude is that confidence comes through preparation. The more prepared a speaker is, the more likely they are to feel confident in their abilities and message. By taking the time and effort to prepare properly, a speaker can set themselves up for success and give themselves the best chance of delivering a powerful and effective speech. A vital step before the speech preparation. In order to make our speech both interesting and memorable for the listener, it is important to consider three key elements. The first, the audience. Who is the speech written for? The second, the purpose. What is the main objective of the speech? The third, the direction of the speech. How will the speech be presented? Second, finding time to prepare our speech. When we develop a new presentation, set about an hour for every minute we spend speaking stage. In other words, if our presentation lasts 20 minutes, we should spend at least 20 hours researching the material. Presentation development, speech outline, and practice. 20 hours may seem like a lot of time at first, but it's ultimately the hours of preparation and constant effort that make speeches look effortless and spontaneous to viewers. The third, a smart speech preparation. Formula allows any speakers to overcome writer's block and put together a great presentation. The first stage, our material. Our knowledge and experience of the subject should be much greater and much deeper than what we decided to cover during our presentation. It's important that our listeners don't have the impression that they know more about the subject than we do. On the other hand, we will soon lose our credibility while our presentation will lose its appeal. The second, make out an outline. Planning a presentation or speech can be challenging, especially if we start with a relatively blank state. Where to start, what ideas to focus on, how to make it work. Creating an outline for a presentation can be a great starting point. An overview of the presentation outline is possible. We organize ideas, highlight main points, and put together elements of a speech in a logical sequence. Failing to outline a solid outline can make the entire presentation look shaky and unconvincing. Third, add humor and personality. Keep that in mind. When writing our presentation, write as if we have to speak to only one person in the audience, write a faceless mass of people. Avoid to hype big words and corporate talk for something genuine and meaningful. Our listeners must feel that we are talking to them, not at them. The fourth, revise our speech. After we have finished the draft of our speech, think of how it can be improved even further. The first, consider making our sentence so shorter, especially the ones loaded with emotional contents. The second, for a longer sentence, consider putting the main verb early. The third, use memorable adjectives and adverbs to make our speech more powerful. The fourth, add strategy, place pause for impact. The fifth, repeat the key idea over and over again throughout our presentation. It helps our listener to remember it and allows all of us to tie our mind concepts together. The repetition technique has been widely used by many public speakers. The sixth is, if possible, incorporate stories into our speech. Even if we are giving a serious talk in front of a large group of professionals, it does not mean that our speech should sound flat and businesslike. An inspirational story of a metaphor to demonstrate our point can go a long way in making our speech memorable and interesting. The seventh, include questions, parodies, and stories that allow us to interact with our audience and establish an emotional connection with them. The last, tie laws and together. Make sure that the ends of our speech are tied together, that we start and end with a strong statement, that our introduction is consistent with our conclusion, and that our visual aids are coherent and support our mind ideas. A well-structured speech consists of a core message supported by clear major points that are in turn explained further by adding relevant details and examples. If we decide to add a visual dimension to the presentation, our visual aids should enhance our presentation, not distract from it. We can use the table below to double check that we have done everything and to make sure that our presentation flows smoothly and that all of its elements are tied together in a logical and meaningful way. Okay, in this slide, practice. Public speaking, just as any other skill requires constant practice in order to be improved. The more we talk in public, the more we train our mind and body to recognize speaking as a familiar and safe situation, and the more confident we will feel in the spotlight. As paradoxically as it might sound, practicing our speech 10, 20, and even 30 times before the actual speaking engagement is what will make our presentation look at more spontaneous, natural, and effortless. Of course, practice alone will not necessarily make our performance stress-free, but practicing our speech at least a couple of times before the presentation holds three significant benefits. The first, it allows us to discover awkward phrases and tongue twisters that are hard to notice when we first write our speech. The second, it reduces nervousness and helps to transform anxiety into excitement on the day of the presentation. The third, it helps us to gauge our timing. Okay, in this slide, the next, performance. When getting ready for our speech, become a long-term optimist and a short-term pessimist. Believe in our hearts that our presentation will go wonderfully and that the audience will love it. But prepare ourselves for a little sleep, unexpected technical troubles, and other problems that might arise on the day of our performance. Here are some tips that will allow us to improve our performance even more. The first, relax before we get up to talk. Remember to stop and take a few deep breaths to slow down our heart rate and reduce muscle tension. Feel our feet and on the floor. Gently roll our shoulders back. This open our chest, drops our shoulders and open our throat, relaxing tension and making us look more confident. The second, greet our audience with a smile. Even if the topic of your business presentation is a serious one, we can still greet our listener with a genius, welcoming smile to win their favor and regain our confidence. The third, do not rush through our presentation. Give our listeners time to absorb our concepts and ideas. The fourth, make ourselves be heard. Speak to the person sitting farthest away from us so that our speech can be easily heard by everyone in the room. The fifth, face our audience at all times. In presentation where visuals are used, avoid turning our back to the listeners and looking at the slides too much. The audience is the focal point of our speech. Visuals are merely a tool to convey a message. Besides, speaking towards the screen or the wall makes it hard for our listeners to hear. The sixth, talk to people, not at them. Find a few people that we know in the audience and imagine ourselves talking directly to them. Save our gesture of our audience, and as we feel more confident, establish a contact with other listeners as well. The seventh, claim attention. The attention span of an average person lasts about 5 until 10 minutes. It is the task of the speaker to keep the listeners focused on the presentation by bringing their attention back through the fluctuation of the voice, storytelling, question, and body language. The H, do not stick our hands in our pocket, hook our thumb under the belt, or engage in our creative expression as we speak. The 9, do not introduce a topic with just real quick, briefly, or familiar words. The subconscious message that our audience receives is, this isn't really important or relevant, but I'm going to inflict it on you anyway. The 10, answer any question as succinctly and briefly as possible. Not everyone might be interested in this specific question. The 11th, do not diminish or underestimate our audience. Even if we are a world-known expert in our area of expertise, it is still not a good idea to use phrases like, this is probably new to us, or we probably don't know what this means, unless we are sharing groundbreaking news that nobody has heard of. The 12th, wrap up our talk on time. People really want to listen to someone who talks longer than was expected. Therefore, assign to a person that we know the task of giving us time quiz in the setting when we have 10 minutes left, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and when we should stop talking. The 13th, never apologize for anything. Be it our presentation, our accent, or our lack of knowledge in certain areas, or our mistakes, we will quickly lose our credibility. The 14th, Be flexible. Organize our business presentation and know it well enough to have the flexibility to skip certain parts or expand on others depending on the circumstance and non-verbal cues that we receive from our audience. The 15, be our best self. Too often, people giving business presentation believe that to look professional, they need to act or speak in a certain way, a stiff way. There's a huge difference between being professional and being downright boring. People come to listen to us, so let our personalities shine through. Share something real about ourselves, either in words or delivery, which connects with to our listeners. Okay, in this slide, benefits of public speaking. Public speaking is listed as one of these core skills. This is not particularly surprising given that communication skills are critical for intellectual development, career trajectory, and civic engagement. Public speaking is universally applicable to all types of majors and occupations, no matter what our ambitions and interests are. Developing speaking skill will benefit our personal, professional, and public life. Okay, the first, personal. People don't just give presentation on the job and in classes. At times, we are called upon to give speeches in our personal life. It may be for a special event, such as a toast at a wedding. We may be asked to give a eulogy at a funeral for a friend or a loved one. As a part of volunteer work, one may have to introduce a guest speaker at an event or present or accept an award for service. Developing the skills to give these types of speeches can help us to fulfill essential roles in our family and community. Another great personal benefit of public speaking is that it builds self-confidence. It's not surprised that speaking in public is scary, but by engaging in the activity you will build self-confidence through the experience. The second, professional. TV announcers, teachers, lawyers, and entertainers must be able to speak well, but most other professions require or at the very least can benefit from the skills found in public speaking. But before we even start a career, we have to get a job. Effective speaking skills make us more attractive to employers, enhancing our change of securing employment and later advancing within our career. Okay, the third, public. Learning about public speaking will allow us to participate in democracy at its most basic level. Public speaking is important in creating and sustaining a society, which includes informed, active participants. Even if we do not plan to run for office, learning about public speaking helps us to listen more carefully to and critically evaluate other speeches. The conclusion, the success of our presentation will be judged not by the knowledge we send, but by what the listener receives. What we say may have a lesser impact on our listeners than how we say it. Maybe that's enough our presentation. Thanks for watching, and that's all I say. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye.